Hello, everyone, and welcome to Auto Asphyxiation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly,
That's right, and we are here for another edition. I, I'll tell you something, Kimberly. I thought I had to go to work tomorrow. Okay, just so you know, okay, to kind of like break the third wall. Sometimes we film early. And it is not Tuesday right now when we're filming.
surprise.
Surprise. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes we're live, but this time we're not. Anyway, I was like, oh my gosh. So on the 15th, that is Sunday, which is not Valentine's Day. It's the day after love. Um, the trains are going down, right? The New Jersey Transit
Yes.
is going down. They said 50%, but I looked at newjersey.com, it's a 53%
Oof. Oof. And that,
transit reduction. Um, and it's part of the $2.3 billion Portal North Bridge. It's a cutover. It's going to take a month to complete. Essentially, everything but the Atlantic line is going to be reduced service. I have no idea what is the Atlantic line. What is that?
I think the Atlantic line is part of the Northeast Corridor and part of the New Jersey coastal line. Because those are the main impacts are on the Northeast Corridor and the New Jersey coastal line. So I imagine that didn't pop up in my research, but I imagine it's all another leg of that
Oh no,
kind
no, no, it's
of.
not. Apparently, that one's the only one that's going to be fine. So Atlantic line is going to be fine. Is that the? So I'm thinking
Oh,
that's why it didn't show up because it's not being affected. Apparently, that's a Philadelphia. Maybe that's the 43% I'll be working. No, kidding. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's the Portal Bridge construction, and it is no weekday Midtown direct service into New York Penn.
which
Um,
sounds so wild in concept. Like,
I'll tell you something. I'm a path girly. So I've always wondered, why are you taking New Jersey Transit when the path is right there? Um, a lot of people are kind of like anti the path, and I want to go ahead.
I don't understand that. I love the path too.
Well, I'll tell you why. And I didn't know. But as I kind of kept questioning people, um, they essentially said because the path was in Newark and in Jersey City. And apparently those were places that were very African American, and they didn't want to go through them. it was
Oh,
it was people don't like path because it's apparently coded as black. I don't know, but this is what
I
I was
should
getting
have
from people.
I should have known it had something to do with racism.
I assumed that's what it was. So I was kind of like, but the path is fine and it's cheaper. I said it's cheaper than New Jersey Transit. It cost at one point, I think it's like it went up to like $3, but or 350 or something like that. I don't know. Now because I use like a little like card, I don't know how much stuff costs. I just kind of like go, I need to go to Manhattan. I can't really think about it. Let me just do it. I don't like I take the light rail to Penn Newark to take the path to get into Greenwich Village to get off of 14th Street. But I did like the fact that sometimes I could take New Jersey Transit. And the thing is that in New Jersey, one of the features of people's where they live is if you have a one seat in,
Yes.
which means that you have for people who are outside the New York metro area, one seat means that you get on the train, one seat, you don't have to transfer, and you just get off and you're in New York City. And so essentially, this is going to inconvenience a lot of people who think they're important.
No, it totally is. No, it totally is because this is affecting Midtown Direct operations along let me see if I can find. So there's no Midtown Direct service into Penn Station, New York on weekdays on the Morristown line, Gladstone branch, and Montclair Boonton lines. So those are your like middle to upper middle class white guys that are going into the city for work.
It's like, how dare you inconvenience us? Do you know who we are? But the thing is, I want to be really clear. We really have to do this. This is not really even an option. It's not like, oh, well, we don't have to. Yeah, we kind of do. It's a problem. But I think the thing is really interesting is that this is shows how much New York depends on New Jersey and how
Yes.
much New Jersey depends on New York. And I'm not even saying like people are like, well, see, if you wasn't for, it, so many people who run Manhattan live in North Jersey. It's not even like it's not even a thing. It's something I think people don't even realize how many people essentially. I think I at one point I knew what this was, but more people from North Jersey go to Manhattan than people from, if you look at like Staten Island, Brooklyn, et cetera, essentially like pretend that, pretend like Newark is, don't get upset with me, pretend like Newark is the eighth borough. Pretend like
Okay.
Hoboken is the seventh borough and Jersey City is the sixth borough. Okay.
It makes sense though.
Yeah. And if you, all those people combined, more of us go into Manhattan than people, than Staten Island, than Brooklyn. So that means that we are half of, or more than half. I actually knew at one point. Can't remember right now. We're more than half the workforce. And I think it's interesting. It's like, what's going to happen to like okay, a lot of the people who live out here work on Wall Street. They can work
Yes.
at home.
Yeah.
but healthcare workers can't work at home.
Nope.
Educators, people who are working with little kids can't necessarily work at home. Um, and this is really kind of like interesting that these transit cuts, not transit cuts, reduced service for a temporary amount of time do not hit everyone equally. And
Exactly.
it's going to impact people. I think it's going to impact the people who are, because they're, put it this way, we say that a lot of people work in Manhattan, work on Wall Street, et cetera, or work in like public relations, or they work in media, but there are people who are secretaries to those
Yeah.
people.
There's a
And
lot of support staff to those positions that also commute into the city via train.
yeah, and like, how much, the person who gets the coffee, chances are she lives in New Jersey. Chances are she's a she and she lives in New Jersey. And she's the one that comes in and sets up the coffee, sets up the meeting, sets up, people kind of go like, oh, that sounds old fashioned. It's old fashioned, but still to this day, most women work as administrative task staff, which, a lot of times coordinators are not just, they're important parts of staff, but coordinators are secretary. That's a new term for secretary, is coordinator. Administrative assistant, another new term for a new, a bottom of the, essentially like a beginning secretary. A
Yeah.
coordinator is an advanced secretary. Executive assistant is like the most elite secretary. And this is not like a way to disparage people, but this is kind of like what it is. And also education. So a lot of women work in education, and a lot of women work in healthcare. That's where we work. It's not like some kind of like this is the truth. This is still to this day. And this kind of like aging infrastructure, this deferred maintenance. I mean, I don't want to start right off on Chris Christie, because we don't want to start there, because we could talk about Christie is no
We
longer the governor, but we could talk about him all day. But
we absolutely could. Do funny story. There was a controversy when he was in office that he took the governor's helicopter because like his kid got hurt at a baseball game and he took like the governor's helicopter to the hospital. He took his child to the doctor's office that I used to work at.
what? I mean, yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. The problem with New Jersey, and okay, our primary driver for the climate crisis in regards to our part in the climate crisis is our cars, which is kind of wild because so many people, New Jersey is a place that, you know, a lot of us don't drive. In a comparison to a place like California or a comparison to a place like Wisconsin or Iowa, a lot of us don't drive. No, we're not on the level of New York City, of course. We're not even on the level of DC, but I think we're like third in regards to not driving. And it's kind of like we have a situation where now we don't have intra-transit. So essentially right now, all of our public transit, all of our service, it's about getting into Manhattan. And the reason why is because it's like but for some reason we don't have this intra transportation within New Jersey.
No.
And I kind of wonder, like, what it would look like if we spent the time we spend on transportation to Manhattan, in transportation in Essex, because we have the density, we have the population, we have, I think, the economic activity in order to have that kind of situation. And we have this, District 10, not even like kind of talk, but a lot of times in Newark and Camden, in East Orange, it is very transit dependent.
Yes.
I think one thing is interesting about Newark that people probably don't know, and in Newark, most people don't have cars. In Jersey City, you have a huge amount of people that take public transit, like that take the train into work. So we are very train and public transit dependent. But in some ways, we can't get around our own state without that public transit. And I just kind of wonder, like, in regards to this situation and people working from home, because that's an option people were given to work from home.
Yeah. That's what
And,
it's on the New Jersey Transit website, some tips and tricks for people. And yeah, one of them was if you can work from home, it's highly encouraged to do so.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I like to think about the train, the arc tunnel, the tunnel that Chris Christie canceled. Okay, now we get to it. The tunnel that Chris Christie canceled, which would have double capacity, which would have, essentially created a situation where we're not dependent on one way in, one way out. Because a lot of times you take a train into Manhattan, they have to sometimes stop the train because, the bridge got stuck, or go ahead.
That's what I was reading too. I read an article in the Gothamist by Catalina Gonella, and it was the bridge becomes stuck one out of every 7 times that it's opened or closed to allow river traffic through.
It is very wild when you're on the train and then it just stopped and you're kind of like, and the thing is that you're so used to it working. I mean, that's the thing. When public transit works, it's a glorious thing. But once you're kind of like, oh, I'm stuck on here and like now I can't even use the train, I can't even, it's really kind of disturbing. And you're just kind of like, what happened? And the thing is that in 2010, this could have been fixed.
It could have been.
This
It
could
could
have
have
been
been.
fixed. And Chris Kid Christie, I feel like he should never, never have office be given any grace for canceling that tunnel, because it would have been such a wonderful project. And he wanted to run for president and he wanted to show how he was tough. And showing you're tough means showing that you are pro car. That's the American way, which I don't understand how that is the American way. We understood about the climate crisis. We understood how, and also to look at the snow. Look how the situation is with the snow and just driving your car. You could not get your
I
car
couldn't
out
get my car out. No, I couldn't get my car out of my driveway for quite some time.
because of the snow. And I'm afraid to drive in the snow. I don't drive anyway, but I mean, I do have a car. But when the snow happened, it just wasn't even an option. It wasn't even an option. It wasn't an option that was going to happen. But also too, I think the thing is really interesting is to how this situation, how remote work is an option, mainly for men.
It is. It is for a lot of men, whereas it isn't for a lot of women or other people in the workforce.
Yeah,
Like service workers, healthcare workers, support staff, like those people have to be on site generally. Retail workers, those people have to be on site. Like you can't just like phone it in to be a nurse, unfortunately.
and I think this is not even like, I'm not even saying, oh, well, they shouldn't be able to be remote workers. But I think that if men, if people who had more money, upper middle class men, if they couldn't work from home, if they had to figure out a way to get into Manhattan, figure out a way to get into Brooklyn or get into their workplaces, I think we would have a different public transit system. I think we would have a different way of, another thing that happened is we used to have this private bus company that would, and I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember the name of it? The private bus company that actually closed down during COVID. And it was a I can't remember the name of it. And I know people are going to be like, they're going to say, people are going to know what it is. But it was this private bus company. And it was almost like a private bus for people who are in suburban New Jersey. And they only I didn't even know about it. Because the thing is that you get into work if you went to Google Maps. And it took you into New York City. So it's like, even if the train went down or whatever, a lot of people took this because they that way they could avoid going to Newark, they could avoid going to Jersey City, they could avoid seeing any they could avoid seeing Black people completely by simply going out their house and taking the bus into, in Los Angeles. I didn't like to me, the bus is, as we talked about, the bus is the service of last resort, except when it's a private bus and they have private commuter buses that are in the suburban part of New Jersey. And these buses are very kind of like, they have bathrooms, they're very luxurious. They're like the bus that your fancy grandma takes to Vegas or Atlantic City. I don't know if you did. I know if your grandma did that.
No, my
Um,
grandma was not an Atlantic City person. My mom was, but not on the bus.
oh, the bus you would drive there, but yeah, and they have it. Because in Los Angeles they have these luxurious buses that go to Vegas. Because some people like to gamble, but they can't drive all the way to Vegas. And so the buses even have like bathrooms in them. They're not like regular city buses.
Yeah, no, they're like big private party buses. And sometimes I know that like senior centers will have like sign up sheets for people to like go to the casino and stuff like that. And
They
it's like a
do.
whole
They've
thing.
got they've got
Absolutely.
Sino. Oh my God, that is.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying right now. I actually, what I'm trying to do is to try to see the commuter bus that used to happen. And this closed during COVID. And it now they're trying to replace it with Boxcar, which is another company. And oh my gosh, it's so weird how things disappear and you don't even remember that they exist. But now it's a thing called a boxcar. And I think the thing I have an issue with in regards to this is that they're getting public funding. And
Oh,
so this is a way, again, another way that you practice a separate but equal situation where we have premium service for the culturally suburban areas, but it's not something that other people can access. And this is, I feel that in a way that private bus company is the reason why this project never got done. I think if Go ahead.
it's entirely possible because when you talk about like, that's something a private bus company should not be funded by public funds because that public funding should be going into the public transportation that already exists. Like, if people want to pay a premium to get into the city on a luxury bus, that's fine, but it shouldn't be funded by public funds. Like that's for infrastructure. That's why the Portal Bridge is 115 years old and crumbling and gets stuck one out of every 7 times it opens or closes.
Yeah, I think if that bus, whatever, and that's weird. It's gonna we
Was
gotta
it
cut to.
was it the DeCamp bus line?
Yes, that's what it's called. And I'm sorry that I was stuck on that. I was like the DeCamp bus line. I feel that the DeCamp bus line was, because that bus line existed when Chris Christie was like, I don't care about the Portal Bridge. I think that people are like, that's okay. I'll just take the camp bus. I like that better because it's literally right by my house. Because there was like a bus that would come by my house that would you could go on it, like walk a few blocks and then get on that bus and go to Manhattan. And then kind of like it was kind of like a one-seat ride.
Yeah.
And this because of that, I think a lot of people didn't when Chris Christie canceled the tunnel, they were like, well, I have a decamp bus. And then owing to COVID, and I think it's just really funny because like all these like wannabe capitalists, like, oh, you should depend on your own capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as like the funding stopped from the government because of COVID, they couldn't survive. So that
Yeah.
means that, they essentially were subsidizing this private company when they could have been using. I would like to know how much DeCamp got because I would think that that should have been like, oh, we don't want, we know we want to cut the fat, blah blah blah. So you have this private bus company going, and you cancel the tunnel. I mean, we have this car first type infrastructure and we had this delayed maintenance. I mean, this is 2010 that bridge got canceled and now it's like 16 years later. I don't know,
Yeah.
16
It's
years
16 years later.
and it's just ridiculous. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just I think in a way and I don't even want to say like, oh, we should have discounts for this because I don't think they would have discounts if it was the bus. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I think there should absolutely be some sort of discounts. I know that they're cross honoring. All these resources can be found on NewJerseyTransit.com, but they're cross honoring with PATH and the New York Waterway ferries. They're enhancing AM and PM peak ferry service to Manhattan. So, there are other options and people can use their already existing tickets or passes on those services. But it's still very, very troublesome, and it is still something that could have been fixed so many years ago because apparently in my reading today, this has been a notorious source of delays. And I'm quoting from the Gothamist again. Especially when it jams while opening and closing for maritime traffic. In some cases, workers have had to bang its locking mechanism back into place with a sledgehammer. Like, that's horrifying to me.
No, it's horrifying to me. Like that's your job. You got to go out there. I mean, because somebody's got to go. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen the bridge, but it's like pretty high up there, and they got to go up there and just bang on it. Like that's what we're doing now. Like it's we're in 2026. This is kind of what's happening, and I think like I feel like we should start planning for not just a climate crisis, but for other people. Imagine that other people don't have access to a private bus. Imagine people don't have access to um remote work. And why can't we plan that way? I mean, even like with the snow and all this stuff, it's like wow, like now people now think about the we call it the fare, essentially the tolls are higher now.
Yeah.
To you can't really just drive there. And so, think about if we all kind of put our taxes together to have a really good, robust public transit system. And I hope that we continue to make improvements on, for the future, for our public transit into Manhattan. And I hope we start developing our public transit in Essex, in Hudson, in Union, in North Jersey generally, so that we don't have to drive our car down. We don't drive our car to go to the grocery store. We can walk to the grocery store, take the train to the grocery store, and it's not a pain. I'm not talking about like I don't think people should be suffering in order to like take the bus. I don't think you should be walking 30 minutes and like walking over pounds of like we call it a pile of snow or or be somewhere where you think it's unsafe. We need to view our, pedestrians, bicycles, and public transit the way we view our cars. We wouldn't accept dangerous conditions for driving, but we accept dangerous positions and things for our public transit. But I think I feel like this is a good thing. I know everybody's very unhappy, but we need to get this done. This is something that we need to think about long term, and we need to have consideration for that.
That's one of the things that like really like this is something that's completely unavoidable at this point in time. It absolutely has to be done because the old bridge is in such poor maintenance. Um, and all of those bridges, every time that bridge gets stuck, that shuts down the entire Northeast corridor. Because don't forget, New Jersey Transit shares rail line with Amtrak north of Trenton. So there's really only like, we have to share that line with Amtrak. There's no other way in the Northeast corridor. So every time that bridge jams, it affects the entire Northeast corridor. Yes, this is going to be an inconvenience for a month, but it's going to make life overall much easier for rail riders in the long run.
And also, I'm gonna tell you something. It's actually scary when it's like when you're in the air, because the way where it is, it's like you're in the air and you like see the ocean, and then it's like stuck, and you're just kind of like, "Am I gonna be okay?" And then you kind of go, "Oh, I should have went to the bathroom before." I mean, the thing of though, New Jersey Transit does have a bathroom in it, but it's not like the subway. But it's still kind of like it's just still kind of scary. But be understand. New Jersey Transit was like, yeah, don't travel between between with like 10 and 3, like or like 9 and 3. Don't travel. I'm like that's kind of a long period to it's gonna be a hard bunch of delays. It's gonna be horrible. And then the ferry, which I always was like, the ferry is an interesting way to get in, but the
Yeah.
ferry, I've always felt the ferry was such. There are a lot of people who take the ferry into New York City, but I feel that it is like probably one of the least economically.
It's kind of, like it's interesting. I find the ferries interesting. I don't know that I could as a commuter, like I would never, like I just could never. Like that would just take too much maneuvering and logistics for me to figure out how to get to the ferry and then no, I'm not taking a boat to work. I admire people that do, and I think it's an interesting option, but it's really weird.
I've taken the ferry, and the problem is when I take the ferry, I feel like I'm on vacation. And at that point, I'm like, I'm not going to work now. Like, screw that. Like, I'm gonna go to a bar now. Like, once I'm on the ferry, I'm like, I'm not going to work after this. It just doesn't feel like a work way to go. Like, I feel a little bit too rested when I'm on the ferry, and I feel like I need to like now I need to like go and like like I said, I need to go to a bar. I need to like do the cha cha. I don't know. I feel like love boat situation.
You're
I'm
on a
like,
cruise.
yeah, I do. I feel like I'm not gonna cruise on the ferry. I'm like, how is this a work way? But I know there's one guy who literally. Here's another way into New York. He has a little boat, and he rides his bike, and then he folds his bike up, and then he unfolds his boat, and then he gets in the water, the Hudson, I guess, and he uses that little boat to I guess a kayak to get to Manhattan. So that's also an option that you have. You can do
You
that because
could always paddle across the Hudson River.
you
I
can always
mean,
go ahead.
good on that guy. And that's a great form of exercise. And I know a lot of people that do go kayaking on the Hudson, but like, whew.
To get to Manhattan, yeah, to get to Manhattan, that's a lot. And with that, do you have anything else to add?
Um, the new bridge does not need to open or close. I also read that today, and I think that's important to share as well, that the new bridge does not need to open or close. It has a much higher clearance than the old bridge, which is why the old bridge has to swing open to allow maritime traffic through. But the new bridge does not need to do that.
I think one thing we have to all remember is that Chris Christie did this. Okay. Chris Christie did this. Don't let him come back like, see, I'm the normal person. I'm okay. Don't ever let him
No.
come back. Remember,
Remember when he closed the beaches, New Jersey? Remember when he closed and he was the only person, him and his family were on the state beaches. Just remember that on the 4th, I think it was Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July weekend. I don't know. It was a big beach weekend, but Just remember what he did to us.
Yeah, like I know. You're kind of like, well, compare it to Trump. Just don't doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Within our world, he was horrible. He did this. The reason why your traffic is delayed. Don't blame Mikie Sherrill. The reason why you have a 1 month 50% reduced in service and it's